Okay, we are now recording.
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Bellevue School District. At this time, we will do roll call. Seema Sarafan,
Joyce Dewey. Carolyn Watson.
And Kelly Aramaki.
Director Chu has let us know that she's unlikely to be able to make it tonight. Weather has impacted her travel as well as her ability to sustain a telephone or internet connection. We do expect Director Aris will be joining us shortly. At this time, I ask Executive Director and Chief of Staff, John Harrison, to please introduce the students that will be speaking tonight.
I would be honored to do that. And before I do, I just want to introduce you to a staff member that you may not have met. Sitting to Ms. Nimela's right is Hart Garcia, and Hart is the admin support for our chiefs of schools and here helping out in the event that we may need her at a future board meeting. So thanks for being here, Hart. 3 students tonight from Newport High School. We have Derek Nguyen, who's a senior, Tashfeen Abdullah, who is a sophomore, and Perry Olser, who is a junior. And we're going to start with Tashfeen, who will lead us in the pledge.
Great, thank you, Tashfeen. Yeah, go ahead and come to the front and we will follow you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tashfeen, and we'll have Perry lead us in the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that we are on the lands of the indigenous lands of the Coast Salish peoples who have preserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Duwamish and Snoqualmie tribes. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. We reflect on the historic context that brings us to reside on this land and accept responsibility to interrupt erasure. We commit to an ongoing partnership with the Snoqualmie tribe as we listen to, learn from, and lead with their guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry, for the land acknowledgement. Before we start this meeting, I'd like to preface with some of the things that we've been working on. As ASB president coming into my senior year, we've wanted to focus on better student communication, acting as a liaison between our admin and our student body. In previous years, we had held student senates, but we felt it wasn't effective as most students didn't attend. So we decided to hold monthly videos called Nightly News, which were broadcasted during the extra time on third period. It's a mix of NTV, which is a joyful satirical comedy segment, much like a videotaped SNL, and a mix of our morning announcements, which is student spotlight focused. We hope that our nightly news is a bridge between the students and admin so that students are better informed about school activities and the things that we should honor and celebrate. In addition, we believe news editions like nightly news can be an effective tool for the school board and superintendent to share news with Newport students or students in the Bellevue School District as a whole. Because I believe communication is a key cornerstone to improving student life and their education holistically, as better informed students are more prepared for life after graduation.
I'd like to bring up something we value a lot at Newport, our beloved community. This is something that I personally treasure, having attended school districts in Texas and Florida, has affirmed my views on what is possible in a prosperous community surrounds your education, and serving as an equity representative this year has taught me how important it is to have yourself be represented at an institution where you're present for 8 hours a day, 180 days per year. Something that I'm extremely proud of with being an equity representative is our roundtables, which is our way of teaching important community building lessons with video featuring student voice, and our annual multicultural night, where representative of all backgrounds and walks of life show off what makes each of us unique and host various performances and displays, all created by students.
Hi, I'm a club coordinator in Newport Leadership. So my role as a leader at Newport is to make sure that clubs are well supported and that they're having an overall positive impact on students and their well-being. And I wanted to talk about one of the things that we did as club coordinators last year and this year, which is the club fair. And it's basically an event where clubs can present to and connect with the student body and usually to get more members. But I thought it went really, really well. It was absolutely fascinating seeing like club leaders sharing things that they're passionate about and other students, like especially the underclassmen, listening to them and finding communities that they wanted to be part of. It was a really, really, really special moment. Themes of communication in our leadership, whether it be through Nightly News or Beloved Community or Club Fair, has had and continues to have a very, very positive impact on our school. That's why it's important that we and the students that we represent are knowledgeable about what's going on in the district. Having channels of communication between students and our district representatives will have an incomparable impact on the smoothness of school operations.
Finally, a message to you all before we leave is that the key step in raising creators of our future world is to ensure that they are educated about the decisions being made in our community, that they're educated about who the decision makers are and what they give back to us. That's why we'd like to wrap up our time by asking you to think about ways you can partner with students to make communication between the district and its schools more effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek, Perry, and Tashbeen. That was really valuable.
President Serafin, may I just acknowledge
Yes.
their teacher, Karen Landau Walter is behind me right here, and she is consistently at these meetings supporting Newport students, and she does that every day at Newport. So thank you, Karen, for all that you do every day.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. And we're grateful. And to Ms. Landau, as well as the students, you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we don't want you also to feel like we will be insulted or hurt if you leave at any point. So just want to let you know that. Okay, so we move forward. We go to item 1.6, which is our acknowledgements. And we acknowledge that this is National Native American Heritage Month. That November 1st was Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. That November 6th through the 10th is National School Psychology Awareness Week. And that November 7th, next Tuesday, is Election Day. At this time, I ask for a second to my motion for the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay, the agenda is approved. The motion is carried. I go to the consent agenda and ask for a second to my motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. For the purpose of discussion, if I could have a second.
Seconded.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, the motion carries and the consent agenda is approved. At this time, I ask our superintendent, Dr. Aramaki, who tonight joins us by video as he is doing multiple things at one time, including representing our district at a conference. So I thank him and ask him to give us his update.
Yeah, great. Thank you, President Serafin. I appreciate that. Go ahead and go to the next slide, George. All right. As you can tell, I am online. I'm part of a national superintendent consortium, and I'm in a conference right now for about a couple of days, with the focus being on improving access for students to advanced coursework. I'm just super thankful for technology so that I can be present here as well as present with you over there. Next slide. I just have a few updates to share with you. The first one is about middle school consolidation and the community forums that we have been having. We've had about 6 community forums so far, 5 in person, 1 online. We have another one online this evening, and then some additional online sessions in multiple languages coming up. I'm happy that we've been able to provide language access at each of these community forums. You can see in this picture here, the top center is a picture of about 70 Spanish-speaking families who attended the Highland Community Forum. We've also had translation in Korean, Chinese, and Hindi, and we were able to provide childcare thanks to some amazing BSD staff. I'm thankful also for our board directors who have been attending, as well as some of our incoming board directors who were there to listen and learn from families. At the forums, we presented data and then we held listening sessions at tables where we collected information from families, including questions, and then at the end shared out some themes. I want to say thank you to the families who attended these forums and who have been participating. It's been really incredible to have you all there and to listen to your questions and your insights and the things that you want for your children. And I want just to encourage you and let you know that we are listening and hearing from you. We are going to compile all of the input that we're getting, and we're going to answer the questions and put those out, which we will post up on the website. So keep an eye on the website. We will be starting to put things up so that you can see the things that we're hearing and then the questions that we're answering that came up from these meetings. There are going to be, as I said, additional opportunities for our community to engage, especially with online community engagement sessions coming up soon. There's something important that I want to note about middle school consolidation, the study, and it is this. We have not yet made a decision to consolidate a school. So I know that some in the community feel that the decision has been made or have heard that a decision has been made, but I want to just reassure the community that we haven't yet made a decision. The most important thing right now is for me and my team to listen to the community before we even make a decision about whether or not to consolidate a school. I want to address a couple of things that I have been hearing bubble up from the community. One of them is that we've decided to consolidate a school. Another one is that we've already determined which school it is. A third thing that I've heard is that we're planning to consolidate high schools next. And then the last one is that we are maybe thinking about using this as an opportunity to get rid of advanced learning services. And so I just want to say none of those four things is true. We have not yet made a decision to consolidate a school. We have not yet identified a school to consolidate. It's far too early in the process for that to have happened. We are not planning to consolidate a high school in the future. So if we were to do a middle school consolidation, we would stop there and not do a high school. And we are not doing away with advanced learning services. So I wanted to share that with the community because I know that some of these things are going around. The best way to get the most accurate information is to go to our website. We will be posting the most up-to-date, accurate information. And if you hear things that you're concerned about and you're not sure whether it's true or not, I just encourage you to email us and ask the question because then we can help give you the most accurate information. Go ahead and go to, skip the next slide, George, and then go to the timeline slide. Thank you. So the timeline, sorry, the previous one. Oops, there we go. Yeah, timeline, thank you. This just shows where we are now in the process. From November to December, we have a few more online listening sessions that are coming up, but we also are going to be engaging in some equity-driven outreach to students and families and communities. So for some of our families who speak a language other than English, we're going to do some targeted outreach. We're going to be reaching out to families who have kids with special needs and are in different programs. And so that engagement is going to be happening from now through December. And as I mentioned, we're going to be synthesizing and communicating answers to questions, which we will post up on the website and then promote in our news and events, which is our biweekly newsletter. At this time, we are also going to do an equity analysis. So looking at this decision through the lens of equity and doing some reflection about that. So that is going to be happening between now and December. Next slide. The next important topic, there should be a transportation slide. I think these are out of order, but go ahead and go next. There we go. Let me do the transportation update. So I have some good news and bad news about transportation. And so I wanted to share this with the community because I know this is top of mind for so many people. I'll start with the bad news. The bad news is that we are still finding that we have to cancel bus routes due to a driver shortage. And so families are still being impacted by cancellation of routes. And it looks like that may be happening through this month, November, and then potentially through December as well. In the canceling of routes, we are trying our very best to avoid routes that serve our highest need students. For example, we are prioritizing students with disabilities, and so we're doing everything we can not to cancel any of those routes. We're also trying to prioritize students at our Title I schools. However, I will mention, because I know parents are feeling this impact, that it's not always possible to avoid that. And so we are doing our best but we are trying to prioritize. Also, I wanted to mention that in order to avoid impacting our highest needs routes, our drivers are often having to switch routes and cover routes that they don't normally cover, which means that they're having to learn new routes on a pretty frequent basis. And so I'm just encouraging our community to be as patient as you can with our drivers, because we're asking them to cover each other's routes in order to prevent the same routes from being impacted over and over again. So that's the hard news. The good news is this: thanks to parents and staff reaching out to the community and on social media, we have 8 people in training this week, and we have another 3 people who are starting training next week. And so 11 new drivers coming, and that is going to really help us out. And so I'm just thrilled about that. And it's going to take a little bit of time because they have to get trained. They've got to drive around some cones and things like that. And then they have to get their certification. But once they do, we will have them up and running, and we will see some relief. And so we have hope on the horizon. And I just wanted families to know that. My cabinet met with some folks from transportation this past week, and we are working really hard, not only to get drivers hired right now, but to look at the longer term systemic things that we can improve in order to minimize this impact in the future. Next slide. Let's see. Do the one in the schools, George. I think these somehow got out of order. So let's do the in the schools one. So we're working through a lot of stuff, transportation issues. We're looking at longer term issues like enrollment and budget. But one thing I want the community to know is, despite all of these things that we're working on operationally, there's amazing stuff happening in our buildings, and I just want to take a second to celebrate that. These are just a few highlights. A week or 2 ago, Highland Middle School had a visit from the Consul General of Guatemala. And so all the students who were here from Guatemala got to meet the Consul General, ask questions. They got to kind of talk about Guatemalan culture and celebrate kind of this common heritage that they have. And it was awesome to be able to be there and witness that. We had Senator Wellman come to Lake Hills Elementary School to visit our dual language program there. And it was amazing. The second picture on the left is a picture of Sergio, one of our dual language teachers, and he's doing a science of reading lesson in the dual language classroom. And so he's taking what he's learned through the letters training and all of that and applying it to his instruction in dual language. And it was really amazing to see the intersection of science of reading and dual language. And then at Bellevue High School, I was able to go and observe math classrooms. And I just want to do a shout out to Bellevue High School math teachers, because we've adopted some new math curriculum for the high schools. But these teachers at Bellevue, they are not only taking on this new curriculum, but they're taking on some new pedagogical approaches that get kids up and moving and engaging in problem solving together. So when you look at that picture up there, they're all standing up, the teachers engaging them with the board in the back of the classroom. And it was great to talk to kids and hear them tell me, like, it's so nice not to just be sitting at our desks, not be looking at computers, off of technology, up and around the classroom. And so kudos to the Bellevue High School math teachers for the work that they're doing around math instruction. Okay, back to the Bellevue College, that picture with all of us standing against the wall. So a team of mine and went to go visit the new president, Dr. David May, at Bellevue College. And I just want to just plant a seed and let people know that we're planning some really exciting partnerships between the Bellevue School District and Bellevue College around things like improving college in the high school, Running Start, supporting our neurodiverse kiddos and other kids with disabilities. We want to support our students who have to work during high school and after high school by partnering them with Bellevue College so that they can earn money and learn at the same time. And then we're also trying to build on our CTE certification in partnership with Bellevue College, because Bellevue College does what they call stackable certificates. And so kids can get CTE certificates while in the Bellevue School District, get a job, and then they can work while getting additional certificates to advance their career at Bellevue College. And so more to come on that, but we're excited about the work that's happening, and I'm excited about the leadership of Dr. May at Bellevue College. Let's go to the last slide. This is my last one about the strategic plan. There we go. Yesterday, I put out a video kicking off our strategic planning process. And so I know a lot of people have seen it because we've gotten, I think, somewhat over 100 people asking or applying to be on this guiding coalition. And so thank you to everybody who's already expressed interest, and there's still time. So we had just celebrated Bellevue High School's 100th anniversary, and now we are looking towards the next 100 years in the Bellevue School District. And we want to start this next 100 years with innovation and with inspiration and being totally focused on our kids. And so if you want to be a part of kind of the designing of a new 5-year strategic plan, which is going to kick off this next 100 years in Bellevue, if you go to the bsd405.org website, you'll find information about the strategic plan and how to apply to be on the guiding coalition. But we would love to have you. I'll be on it. We'll have students, staff, families, and community members. And our work is going to be to engage the broader community so that we can co-design a new strategic plan that is truly innovative and will prepare our kids for the future. And that is my update.
Thank you, Dr. Armaki. Thank you for the update. We move on now to public comment. So let me start by just saying to the people online and in the room, we doubled our public comment time for this session.
Before we go on to public comment, can I make a comment?
Very, very short. Sure, go ahead.
Great. Dr. Armaki, would you mind explaining about our finances and McClary, because I think there's a misunderstanding about the abundance of finance and taxes that people pay here.
I'm going to ask that maybe we come back to that, please. I appreciate it, but we do want to get through our public comment, and so
it may help with the public comment.
Okay, Dr. Armaki, let's do it in 1 minute, please.
Yeah, okay, sure. The bottom line is school finance is really complicated. As Bellevue taxpayers, of which I'm included, we pay quite a bit amount of taxes for education. But what people should know is that the money that we pay in taxes in Bellevue does not go directly to the Bellevue School District. And so based on new tax laws, our tax money goes to the state. The state then brings it all together and then redistributes it across the state. And so we get a fraction of what we are paying as a city. And this is the state's effort to be more equitable and inclusive in their funding for school systems across the state. And so I think for families to know, because it is a common misperception that we pay a lot of taxes and we raise a lot of money in Bellevue, and that is true, but it's just a fraction of the funds that we get back per student here in Bellevue. We also have levies and bonds that our taxpayers pay for, but those are more, there are things that we can and can't pay for with those. So I probably will spend more time doing a budget one-on-one with the community, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of information before public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Armaki, and thank you, Director Aris. I agree. We have a lot of misunderstandings regarding how we can fund education, and there are limitations that we don't control. So we are going to go to public comment. What I was starting to say is that we have allotted double the time we usually have. This is a board meeting, and we allot public comment time in it, but we have some constraints, and I'll read the rules around it. What I mainly want to tell people tonight is we have a limit for how many people, and it's 2 minutes each. What I also want to let you know is the next board meeting, December 9th, we will not be able to exceed our regular 10 people, but we will do so December 7th and likely 14th. And that will be relevant for you because that will be a new board, meaning we have an election for new board directors next Tuesday. So I flag that for you just for your awareness. We have a new board coming in, and when that happens and members change, it will be particularly relevant to have longer public comment for those sessions. So let me go now. This is the time that during our meetings where we receive public comment, and you will see that there's guidelines posted. I ask any of you who are speaking tonight to please read it. You should know that you can also reach us by email or voicemail. Our email is board@bsd405.org. We read all your emails. we don't typically have the bandwidth to be able to reply. The same way we don't reply here, we listen to your comments. So we're grateful to receive your public comment. We appreciate your thoughtful input. Because of the limitations of our calendar, we limit public comment typically to 20 minutes and always no more than 2 minutes per person. We listen, we don't respond here in the meeting. We expect all speakers to engage in a civil manner and not engage in any form of communication identified as unacceptable, which you should read up there, but they include slander and libel, invasion of privacy, obscenities, harassment, intimidation, bullying, or discrimination. We also can't accept public comment on pending investigations, which include student discipline investigations, allegations of employee misconduct, and allegations of discrimination or harassment. And that's to preserve our ability to hear appeals. So at this point, we will be starting our public comment. We thank you in advance, and please just know that we will not be responding, but we do listen to all of your comments. All right, Ms. Nemela or Mr. Harrison, if you could call the first person, and we have a timer that will be presented that will allow you to know when your time is over.
Thank you, President Serafin. We're going to begin with our online speakers who registered in advance, and we'll start with Gigi Liu. In person, I'm sorry. Are you Gigi? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you just press that button. Right, there you go.
Hello. Yeah. Thank.
This is awfully.
Can we restart the timer for her so she has her full 2 minutes?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I have 3 points to share. Firstly, birth rate alone is not a reliable indicator of enrollments. Many families move to Bellevue for excellent education opportunities, and their children may not have been born in Bellevue. To illustrate this, I would like parents who have their children attended Bellevue schools but were born when they live in other school districts to raise a hand here. I have my data point. Secondly, last year, without non-resident students, we have a 0.5 decrease in enrollments. With them, we had an increase. The current budget plan assumes a 2%, which is 350 student decrease in enrollment each year, which I believe is too aggressive, especially considering we are just returning to normal form from pandemic. Additionally, it's commonly observed that costs tend to be decreased at the enrollment decrease. It would be helpful if BSD could provide any explanation as to why this cost decrease is not reflected in the current budget plan. Therefore, I strongly urge BSD to reconsider those assumptions and make the necessary revisions to the budget plan. Thirdly, if there's still a deficit after making those adjustments, I'm more than willing to collaborate and find a solution together with BSD. BSD should consider implementing a transparent and inclusive process that actively involves parents, aiming to promote fairness in the decision-making process. Last night's email received from Superintendent Aramaki, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, sorry, which highlights a positive step towards this goal is encouraging. School consolidation harms parents and students. BSD's decision will impact enrollments, so transparency and careful consideration are crucial. I urge unbiased data to ensure fairness and the best outcome for all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker, please. Can I have people, as they see your names, just start to come up to the front so that we're ready?
Next speaker's online is Gerard Boland.
Okay, Mr. Boland, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And you can let us know if you're going to go on camera or not, or it's your preference.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I understand there are budgetary issues that you're trying to address, and closing a school is an easier and larger cost-cutting option from administrative and operational perspective. than simply cutting back on classrooms across the district. This seems to be the same ill-conceived decision that occurred when recently closing 2 elementary schools. Questions that I would like you to consider include, first, why does the entire 6th to 8th grade educational organization not include 6th to 8th grade components of international school? Or maybe even the whole concept of international school, especially when their success rates are comparable or lower than Odell and Tyree schools? If the unique components of that school are so great for students, why not offer them to all the students at all the middle schools? Mr. Miller and the district talking points noted, Mr. Miller and the talking points noted cutting other services as an alternative. How could anyone justify the threat of alternative to closing a middle school is eliminating art, music, mental health, academic intervention, and/or STEM programs from the middle schools, and not from international or other levels of schooling? This is discriminatory. It will negatively affect not only the middle school students, but the high schools when these students are at that level. Statistical data shows a direct correlation between middle and high school achievement. Cutting academic support and mental health support in an era of increased preteen suicide, drug abuse, and violence is a gross violation of your duties. The greatest increase among age groups of suicide is kids aged 9 to 14 in the last decade. Every educator should be aware of the significant positive impact programs such as art, music, STEM, and mental health have on the grades, test scores, and overall success of students. These are essential elements in education. And third, when hearing that advanced learning students will be potentially sent back to local school, what is the number of students that are involved that reduces the population of Odell and other schools to the point that it's a viable decision to close them? What I think a lot of the parents are concerned about is the criteria for deciding why the parents are not a more direct part of the transparent process. We do not know which schools are being targeted. The middle schools, if you look at Highland.
Sir, if you could just wrap up, your time is done.
I'll say the most important part should be the academic achievements of the schools,
Okay.
where Odell and Tyree are clearly ahead of Highland, which is in the 308th in the state.
I thank you.
50th
I thank you.
percentile.
We do need to go forward. Thank you. Who is our next speaker?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay. Could you give us your name just so we?
Yeah, I'm Chu Yong.
Thank you.
The dear board here. I have 2 kids going to BSD schools. We are really grateful for the high quality education offered here. Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry. And appreciate all the hard work the district put in to make this possible. But I was very disappointed at the rush move and the lack of transparency for the school consolidation engagement session last week, where the only option of middle school consolidation was proposed without due reasoning. My trust on BSD decision-making and planning dropped to the lowest level, especially considering a series of opening new schools, closing 2 schools in a short span of 5 years. I'm very glad to see BSD adjusted and started the guiding coalition, bringing parents along in the decision-making process. I submitted my application for the coalition yesterday. I think there's some good points covered by the previous speaker. Just a few more points or questions to BSD. What have we learned from the recent closure of 2 elementary schools? Do we have processes in place to monitor the impact of the decision and make adjustments to ensure we achieve the desired outcome? I've heard negative impact on class size of 30 plus in the room. Second one, after 2020, BSD the only district closed schools on the east side. Even if you look at across the greater Seattle area, what are we doing to minimize the immediate and the long-term risk of driving existing and potential future BSD families away from BSD? How do we win back parents' confidence in BSD? As parents, we share the common goal to make district the best thriving environment. Like our superintendent, Dr. Armaki said, guess what? The best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it working? Okay. My name is Ru Sheng, a parent of 6th grader at BSD. Thank you all for listening to us. Today, I stand before you with a heavy heart and burning desire to address a critical issue that affects our children, our community, and the future of the education in Bellevue. I speak of potential consolidation of middle school in our beloved district. Why has Bellevue constantly attracted a growing number of families over the last few decades? Why are people willing to pay higher property taxes and accept a higher cost of living to call this place home? Because the city offers the best education in the state of Washington. We hold on to the dream that our children can have a better life than we did. That American dream is now being stolen, but why? This proposal to consolidation schools may come with arguments about efficiency and cost savings, but let me remind you that our children's education is not a balance sheet. It's not just about saving dollars, it's about investing in our future. It's about ensuring that every child has access to the best possible education, regardless of their zip code. I'm not discussing statistics as they speak for themselves. Consolidation could result larger class sizes, longer commutes for many students. It might mean saying goodbye to teachers who have become mentors and friends. It might mean disturbing the sense of stability and belonging that our children need to thrive. We respectfully request the board to carefully review our concerns regarding this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe, is it Lily Chen next? Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you, board, for giving me this opportunity to speak. My thesis is Keep Order Open. Order was established in 1969, and it is one of the oldest schools in Bellevue School District and is located in the heart of the city. It serves almost 1,000 students in the surrounding neighborhood. Furthermore, the middle school has been the highest ranked middle in the district for many years, despite Order actually not serving families with the highest incomes in the region, indicating a high quality culture and a positive image that remains in students and families' heart. Bellevue School District is considering consolidating middle schools due to a lack of enrolling students. However, closing Order will worsen that issue. Order represents the district's highest quality education system, which is one of the main reasons why families are attracted to Bellevue School District. Shutting down Order will cause its students to consider transferring to other school districts and private schools. It will also send a message about BSD's commitment and attitude towards high quality education. The numbers speak for itself. It is true that Bellevue School District has highly ranked schools. However, our ranking have dropped within Washington state. Order was in top 5, top 8 for many years, but has dropped to 12th. And international school is at number 14, while Taiyee is at number of 16 during the whole nation, the ranking in the whole nation in the Washington state. BSD's projections indicate that high school enrollment will rise in the next 3 to 7 years. I have a question. If we close the best middle school in our school district, would that still be true?
Ma'am.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we go to the next speaker, I just want to know, let people know, if your time ends and you had more to say, feel free to send us by email complete comments.
Okay. Dear BSB board, this is Chen Qing. I'm a mother of 3. My family moved from Redmond to Bellevue in 2020. We are big fans of BSD, and all my kids go to BSD schools. BSD report blames birth rate and housing price as main drivers of sharp decline in enrollment. But what if losing parents' trust during pandemic is the true cause? I'm saying this because private schools are thriving and opening new campuses. I'm also saying this
because the 2 rounds of closing schools have definitely shaken my belief of BSD's future, as well as many parents that I have talked to. All 5 middle schools are essential parts of the local community. Closing any of them will shake families' fundamental beliefs. We are not in a crisis until people start thinking that we are in a crisis. Hastily closing schools saves money, but also sends out a signal that BSD cares more about the balance sheet, that BSD is in survival mode, that BSD couldn't afford to act as if it might have a future in which its enrollment might go up. It can send BSD towards a downward spiral. Closing schools shakes its root of success, which in turn leads to lower enrollment and more school closures. Service quality will decline quickly as BSD enrollment shrinks further. If this becomes a reality, social gaps will become larger. We will have less equity. Please don't shake the middle school families so hard. The one and only way to be successful is to focus on winning families over instead of disturbing and driving them away. To focus on improving reputable schools and programs instead of closing them. Enrollment is a reflection of family belief on BSD long-term potential. Please don't drive it to be any lower. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I have 2 children at BSD at Odell and Woodridge, both of whom have thrived in the AL program. I am concerned that the middle school consolidation plans and the effect that may have upon the AL-centered program. This year at Woodridge, my 5th grade son has seen a 50% increase in his class size and a doubling of his bus commute time. But there is a budget shortfall and some sacrifices are unavoidable. What parents feel is non-negotiable is the integrity of the AL-centered program. That is, learning with a cohort of peers who have met rigorous standards of eligibility and working from a customized curriculum taught by experienced AL teachers. Many parents view the Seattle Public Schools case as a cautionary tale of how to undermine AL. By diluting eligibility, expanded access has rendered the program ineffective. BSD stated that there is no district push to disband AL, but it is unclear how AL can be maintained intact alongside school closures. Dividing a school's AL population weakens the program by breaking the unity of the students, splitting funds and resources, and by spreading thin the pool of experienced teachers. It would be both socially and educationally damaging for the students and counterproductive to addressing falling enrollment. BSD's AL program attracts many families to the district precisely because it is strong. Without that, many families would leave for private schools. BSD test scores would suffer. Its stellar academic reputation dented, recruitment and retainment of new families and teachers becomes harder, causing enrollment to continue to fall. I would urge BSD to resist closing schools based on outlier pandemic-driven data, and I further urge the Board of Directors to commit to maintaining the AL-centered program strong and intact as it is today at Odell and Tyee. AL is an essential pillar in BSD's educational fortress. It must not be fractured and weakened, as doing so would result in long-term damage to BSD's ability to continue to thrive. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
So I would like to first thank the board to give us opportunities. Oh, yeah. Yeah, really appreciate that. To double the time for our public comments, as a parent of 2 kids of BSD school for 10 plus years, my older one just graduated from Interlake High this year. And then she visited all her teachers in Odell school and I have wonderful, wonderful memory there. And then my younger one this year also in Odell school. So I think Odell school is a beautiful representation of how our great BSD education system is. So I want to appreciate all the effort, including the board effort. So about 2 weeks ago, my younger one bring this news to me to say Odell school is going to be closed, which is such a shock news to me because I had always thought that we are not lack of money being the most highest priority property test of the whole district. And then just now, I think mentioned that it's because of everything is distributed from the state. Please let us know that early so that we can overall work together to solve that. My point is that this school closure right after the pandemic situation, and then the kids has been impacted so much with this unstable environment in the past 3 years. Now they just came back to the school and then making their friends circle stabilized, and then they are going to be impacted again by this school closure decision. We only have 6 months in timeline to make that decision. This is a way rushed. How we considering from case point of view what that impact will be for teenager, especially during the middle school, how they can have a stabilized environment, studying environment for their mental health, for their girls. So I urged the board meeting, allow parents to be part of you to make this decision-making process transparent. Let us to be part of that decision-making process and then give us long time during this timeline. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. McNamara, is that right? Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen McNamara, and I have 2 kiddos in BSD. And I'm going to be talking about the importance. Oh my God, you did not need to do that. Okay. And I wanted to talk about the importance of keeping the AL community at Odell together, specifically for the social and emotional well-beings of these kids. So if it were to be consolidated, the district could potentially split Odell, the AL kids, into their neighborhood schools. And while the schools would continue to offer AL level classes, which is great academically, it is far from great if you're looking at their social and emotional well-being. There's new research out there saying that in a culture of high achievement, which we all know that these AL kids have, the key to keeping these kids' anxiety and stress levels down is for them to feel like they matter. I can tell my kids that they matter till I'm blue in the face, but it is not going to cut it. The key to this, I think, for them is for their friendships. They need to have a lot of them. They need to be deep and they need to be meaningful. Having a large community of AL kids together in one physical place makes this possible. The district's own research tells us that AL kids' brains kind of work differently. And it turns out that my son's deepest friendships also happen to be with AL kiddos. In our case, my son had about 75 AL kids in his grade in elementary, but it really wasn't until middle school, when there were closer to about 200 AL kids in his grade, that he finally found the kids that he has truly clicked with. And I've spoken to other AL families and parents who have said the exact same thing as we have felt. These kids get each other's quirks, they have the same little niche hobbies, and they're having a blast together, and they matter to each other. And as it happens, none of my son's friends would actually flow to our neighborhood school. Having smaller AL cohorts at neighborhood schools will affect their ability to make friendships and form deep connections. And you absolutely need a critical mass of kids together so they can find those kids who will be more than just classmates, but also friends. Splitting these kids up will do harm. And as a parent, I am begging you not to do that to these kids and to keep this AL community together. Thank you.
Thank you. I think next we have Eli Ingraham.
I am Eli, and this is my sister Ashley. I am in 5th grade, aide at Prescott Sol, and Ashley's in 3rd grade. This fall, 80 teachers started letters training. That makes 240 teachers who have started the program. Also, this year, 110 and teachers started the 2nd year of letters training. This is amazing. Thank you, teachers, for all your hard work. Over 40 special educational teachers have taken in the IMSE Orton Gillingham training by December. All elementary special education teachers will be trained. Bellevue Schools Foundation also gave a $6,000 grant to UFly and Word Mats. More on that project later. Your hard work created great for the students, making a big difference. Thank you. is Eli and Ashley.
Okay, are we going to Owen now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I am Owen, a 7th grader at Tillicum, an equity advocate. Today, I would like to talk about the district's equity commitment to all students, including those with learning disabilities. Política número 130, policy number 130. La diversidad es la fortaleza central de nuestro distrito y requiere que trabajamos sistemáticamente para eliminar las desigualdades e inequalidades raciales para todos los estudiantes marginados. Diversity is a core strength of our district and requires that we work systematically to eliminate racial inequalities and inequalities for all marginalized students. Garantiza que todos los estudiantes tengan acceso equitativo a todos los programas del distrito, incluyendo, entre otras, todas las escuelas elegidas por el distrito. Ensure that all students have equitable access to all district programs, including but not limited to all district choice schools. What does equity access to choice language programs like the ESA program look like for students with learning disabilities? The general education curriculum in Spanish, but supports are not offered in English, or are only offered in English. This is not equitable. How are students with learning disabilities expected to stay in these language programs without support in both language? Please change your practice to match your policy. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you. As you know, I'm a big advocate of BSD's language programs. I'm also a big advocate for the literacy programs. And for me and my students, those two items come together. So as the district is continuing to expand these wonderful programs, unfortunately, for my students, we hit a roadblock. Currently, the district will not provide specially designed instruction for students who have an IEP who qualify for services in the program language. So that would mean Mandarin, that would be Arabic. If they're going to expand to Hindi or Korean, that's not right. If we're going to offer these amazing programs, they have to be accessible to all students. And whether it's a legal objection or a funding issue, there are ways to provide interventions and supports, whether that be inside the special education framework or not, where these students need to be served. I'm going to shift, and I actually want to address school consolidation. I'd like to change the conversation in this room tonight about not what we're going to lose, but I think as a community, we need to come together and we need to say what matters. What will we not sacrifice? Because you know what? A school is just a community. It's not a building. And I would hope that the other middle schools in this room or who are not here, I have a student at Tillicum. I don't want Tillicum to close, but more importantly, I want our students to have nurses. I want interventionists. I want the students to have the best possible experience. And you know what? That's not a building. Right? My students were at the old Puesta, the oldest building in the district. I didn't care if they got a new building. I cared if they got served. So Bellevue, do better. Change the conversation now. And let's come together and support students. It's not about buildings. I'm not going to say disruption does not hurt communities, but we can get past this. We are Bellevue and we are better. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have Ms. Zhang. Thank you. And he'll help you adjust the table. Thank you, Mr.
Hello.
Harrison.
Yeah. Dear school board members, my name is Yin Zhang. Our family moved from California to Bellevue about 4 years ago, in part to pursue the better public education here. I urge the district not to close any middle school this year. The current consolidation plan only allows for about 5 months from start to finish, which is extremely short and disruptive of people's lives. More importantly, a series of school closures undermine confidence in BSD schools. I want to first focus on equity. If a community needs to make difficult choices, it's most equitable if the burdens are widely or proportionately shared among its members, as it fosters a belief that we are in this together. Under such principles, when BSD resources are limited, the best way forward is a reduction of service levels across all programs and all constituents subject to legal requirements. It is not equitable to put any single school or program on the chopping board. I urge you not to take drastic actions that are irreversible in nature. I hope you recognize that there are limits to human predictive models, and there is substantial uncertainties on what the future will be. Indeed, the 2030 enrollment is in part driven by the quality of BSD schools under your leadership and the type of education they provide today and tomorrow. Multiple school closures on short notice will drive students into the arms of private schools, which in turn reduce demand for public schools. I'll end this with a tip from Larry Summers on decision-making in an uncertain world. He said that since everybody will make decisions that will turn out to be wrong, one rule he has in life is to only make mistakes that are reversible. If we close a school today and it turns out to be a mistake, it's not a mistake we can fix. If we adopt a less drastic change and it turns out to be lacking, we still have a second chance. I urge you all to be humble and tread lightly and prudently on this topic of immense importance.
Hello, my name is Christy Swessinger, and I have 2 students in the district. First, I want to thank our teaching and learning staff for all the amazing work they're doing in the area of literacy. As most of you know, I've been talking about literacy for quite a while. The dyslexia early literacy screening and intervention law went into effect across Washington in 2021. And this, for those who don't know, this law requires all of our K through 2 students to be screened. And those students who are flagged, identified below grade level in the district must be provided evidence-based, multisensory, structured literacy interventions. And these must be, these also must use evidence-based multi-tiered systems of support, which is MTSS, which I think we all know about. We have pockets of amazing success across the district, and most of these schools and classrooms, the focus has been on professional development and a priority for these evidence-based practices and interventions. As Joel had just mentioned, we got a grant from the BSF to provide these multisensory tools. The challenge is our instructors must know how to implement them. They can have these all day in the classroom, but if they're not using a systematic approach, it's really not effective. Research shows that 1 in 5 students has dyslexia. Most of those are above average or average IQ, and additional 30 to 40% need this systematic approach. So using the expertise we have across the district, we should focus on a system of peer-to-peer coaching. 2 other things that our district must prioritize to reach the annual plan goal of 95% literacy rates by 3rd grade is our MTSS systems need to become consistent and data-driven, and we need this continued training for teachers and support staff in these evidence-based practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tierney Knight?
I'm not very good at this. So I have a 5th grader at Bennett and a 7th grader at Highland. Thanks. Concerning the consolidation, I just want to emphasize the amount of anger and turmoil the district is placing on the community. To lose a school should be the last resort. No one wants their school to be on the chopping block. I want to ask if this consolidation is really worth it. Is it really the last resort? If your predictions don't come true, how are you going to feel about that? Displacing hundreds of kids and families when it may not be necessary. The district is sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars with the many unused properties. Why would you close a school and not sell a property to help pay for expenses? Every levy you put forth has passed. If the community finds out you're closing one of our general population schools to relocate a choice school like International will contribute to a huge loss of faith in our district leaders, not to mention placing families that have the opportunities to choose their school over the general population of kids who you should initially be supporting. It's as if these programs or schools are treated like private schools within our district. In regards to the turmoil the district has created, there have been parents and kids that have openly bashed the Highland population. Sorry, these are people that have never been to the school or attended it. Something should be done or said about that behavior. They're just kids. Just because scores are lower in general doesn't mean anyone has the right to judge them. If Highland were to close, it's like the behavior and attitude is being justified. We truly hope you take into consideration the needs of the Highland population in regards to the school resources, special needs program, nurturing teachers, location, MML program, and demographics. If you're really serious about equity, this discussion of closing Highland should not be an option.
Thank you. Mr. Zimmerman?
Thank you.
It actually, green is the color you want. Thanks.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, my name is Alex Zimmerman. I live here for 35 years. I spoke before many times about this, and I spoke when you elect me November 7 for consul chamber. You know what this means? I will bring $30 million and bring $5 million for next year. And right now I want to speak to everybody who listen to me. I'm sick from you guys. I'm sick from the 60,000 idiot, a slave, who come here talking and nothing happen. Few months ago, you talking. Doesn't people come? Nothing happened. Nothing happened will be today. And superintendent talk, he cannot do nothing. We have 60,000 people, almost 20,000 children, 40,000 parents, 2,000 teachers. You can do nothing. Who are you? A slave or American citizen? Is this America or German Nazi or Soviet Union? What's going on? How is this possible? You cannot do nothing. Go to street. Go bring 40,000, 60,000 people in street. Go to council chamber every Monday, 6 o'clock. Bring the 60,000 children and parents and talk to them. They will find money. It's not a problem, $30 million from Amazon, Microsoft, Google. You tease me? It's a joke. You will elect me. I will do this for first months. Totally bring you this money. But right now I speak to everybody. Stop acting like a slave. Go to street. Go to council. Be American citizen. It's America. You understand about talking. In Bellevue, most educated, intellectual city. What is I know is state Washington. In more rich city. So I repeat you again. Stop acting like a slave. Stand up, America. Stand up for us children. Thank you. Yes, stand up. Go to street. There's only one way what you can check.
Mr. Harrison, does that complete our public comment? Mr. Harrison.
We have one online speaker,
Okay.
Gigi Liu. Is she ready, George?
Gigi, will you please raise your hand on Teams?
As a reminder, she was our first speaker. She was here in person.
I think we might have had two separate.
Yeah, Jaja Gu
Just-
and Gigi Lu.
Okay, we're just going to have
Yes.
Mr. Harrison handle this. Just let us know, please, when
Yep.
we are ready.
Is there anyone else with their hand up, George?
Yes, I'm getting Gigi on right now. All right, Gigi, you should be good to go.
And can we reset the timer?
Yep.
Gigi, can you hear us? We are not catching you, Gigi.
Okay, if we do not have the public speaker, we will go ahead. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's unfortunate we can't get her on, but that concludes public comment, I believe, President Serafin.
Okay, thank you. We will then move forward unless Mr. Zorn cuts me off otherwise. I think we move forward. All right, thank you to everyone who came tonight, and anyone who may have been online who, if there was a snafu, we'll make sure we get them in a future public comment. Thank you again. We move now to the next item on our agenda. We have a report, and I ask our superintendent if you can let us know, please, is that going to be Dr. Thomas presenting, or would you like to tee us up for the report, please, Dr. Aramaki? And for anybody in the room, from public comment, you are welcome to stay, but also if you find that you would like to leave, we're not offended if you leave, just ask quietly if you could. Thank you very much.
President Serafin, maybe if I'll just transition over to Dr. Thomas by saying thank you to all of the families who came tonight. We really crave and appreciate your feedback. I took notes on everything that everybody had said, and the board and I, we appreciate what you have to say. I mean, this is part of public engagement. So I just want to say thank you to the families. Thank you to the kids who came and spoke today as well. Owen, great Spanish. I was very impressed. But thank you. We will take all of what you said into consideration as we move forward. So thank you so much. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff Thomas, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, who's going to share some information about our annual plan goal on recruitment and retention of staff of color.
Thank you, Dr. Aramaki. Good evening. I'm excited to be here. This is my 9th report to be giving to the board over the last several years. And each year we're able to present information that really shows an ongoing concerted effort to diversify our staff and some success. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce a colleague of mine, Freedom Johnson, sitting next to me. And Freedom is the program coordinator for our engagement specialist for BIPOC educators. And part of the information that we're going to present today will have Freedom share with the board some exciting work that we're doing for our educators. Next slide, please. Today we're going to present a summary of some of the key data that we continue to gather over time. We're going to talk about some of the changes that we have seen for our latest analysis of our staff diversity. Freedom will provide an overview of our engagement specialists for BIPOC educators. Last year was the first year that we started that program. It's a pilot year. And then at the end, we'll talk about some key considerations for the future. Next slide, please. First, you have an overall view of the diversity of our staff, both by gender identification and by either race or ethnicity self-identification of our employees. And the summary of that is that the aggregate of our staff is roughly 3/4 female, and the diversity of our staff is roughly 63% that identify as white, and then just under 34% that identify as various race or ethnicity. It is continuing a trend of becoming more diverse within our district. We've been measuring this data going back to 2014, 2015. And the trend has been consistent to become more diverse, although the last couple of years that trend has really slowed. But I think there are some components that are important to note. Next slide, please. So summary of some of the key changes that we have We have a slight increase in staff of diversity for our certificated staff, which the majority is our teachers, and that includes our principals and assistant principals. And that positive trend, I think, is noteworthy for a couple of reasons. First, with the last couple of years of declining enrollment and essentially downsizing some of our staff, the traditional thought would have been that because many of our newer staff are educators of color, that we would not have seen that diversification continue, but rather it would go backward. And what we have found is that is not the case. Although the increases in diversity have been small, the fact that we consolidated 2 schools and roughly reduced the equivalent of 40 teaching positions would have potentially caused us to lose that diversity, and we did not. And I think that's really important to note. In addition to that, with the beginning of the pilot of our BIPOC educators, our specialists, we're seeing an approach and a connection to our BIPOC educators that we had not built a system for previously. And now that as we're creating this system, we're already getting some very positive results. Next slide, please. The final slide that I'm going to share in terms of data is the summary of the overall diversification of our certificated staff. And you'll see a couple of places where I've highlighted in green where our Asian or Pacific Islander staff continue to become a larger group of educators in Bellevue. And the overall number of our BIPOC educators continues to grow. Again, you see the trend not being a fast trend this last couple of years, but the trend continues nonetheless. Next slide, please. At this point, I'd like to turn this over to Freedom Johnson, and she can share information on the pilot program with our engagement specialist.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for having me here this evening. I want to take a moment to introduce some of my colleagues that are also on the team that are here tonight. So Marnie Kazarian Olson, who works at Enitai and Jingmei, AJ DiCostanzo, who works at Clyde Hill Elementary, and Rocio Gonzalez, who works at Bellevue High School, are here this evening. And also on our team, we have Eve Chan from Ardmore, Mary Colon from Bellevue Digital Discovery, and Jana Fuertes from Lake Hills. So our program, as you know from our report, we started off with a team of 8 with partial release time from the classroom. So all of us are full-time educators. We had some partial release time for last year to help develop the CES program. Our objectives were to create a sense of belonging, a sense of community, to help educators to feel valued as individuals and to feel empowered to bring their authentic selves to their work each day. We started off by focusing on BIPOC educators in their first 2 years in the district, so not necessarily brand new teachers, but people who were newer to Bellevue School District. We worked to develop relationships with each of those individuals. We worked with about 66 people last year. We met with people regularly to check in and offer support and advice. We had a monthly newsletter that had information about cultural events, recipes, profiles of our team, as well as some of our individual staff members. And we fostered some social connections through events. We had a Teams channel, and we periodically sent out notes, cards, just finding lots of different ways to connect with people. Next slide, please. So throughout the course of the year, we had some outcomes that we thought were very positive based on 2 surveys that we did, one in December and one in May, in order to measure the effectiveness of our program. We also collected some anecdotal data just through conversations with participants and administrators. So some of those outcomes were an increased understanding of the purposes of CES since it was such a brand new program and we were kind of building the plane while we were flying it. Sometimes people were a little bit confused, like, who are you and what are you doing? Increased feelings of support for BIPOC educators showed up in our survey results, increased engagement, and we had the opportunity to kind of improve some job satisfaction for our BIPOC educators. 86% of the participants we surveyed said that they felt quite a bit or fully supported by our program participants. And then despite the uncertainty of last year in terms of continued employment, especially for our newer staff, 77% of the participants who were surveyed said that they were likely or highly likely to return to BSD if they had the opportunity to do so. Next slide, please. So this is just a few quotes from some of our survey participants. These comments show that we were able to accomplish our goals, as people mentioned, feeling supported, feeling connected, feeling empowered. And anecdotally, all of us on the team received thank you notes, requests to continue, big hugs, just people really feeling grateful for what we were doing. Next slide, please. So we've changed our focus a little bit for this school year. We are excited to be able to continue our program and expand it despite some reconfiguration that was necessary due to some budget constraints. So we do continue to have a small amount of release time, but we didn't have as much as we did last year. So we've moved to offering some stipends. We've also been able to add 6 additional members as support team members. So people throughout the district who many of them went through the training, the Nakia Academy training for mentors of color last year. So we're able to utilize them. We are approaching our, shifting our approach somewhat to reach a broader audience. So instead of just meeting people that are in their first 2 years, we are now supporting all BIPOC educators within the district, certificated educators, I should say, which is probably around 400 people. So it's a big shift in focus. So due to that, we are continuing our monthly newsletter. We are continuing to have some social events. We actually just had one in this room last Friday, which was great. We are offering EDPD, educator-directed professional development, with a series of 4 trainings throughout the year. And our focus of those trainings is kind of an arc. So starting with, we already had one focused on building connections, and we called it How to Find Your Peeps. And then our next one will be around healing from microaggression, identifying microaggressions, healing from them and from racial trauma. Then we'll move into educating and empowering ourselves. And finally, leadership development will be the 4th. So we're trying to educate and empower all BIPOC educators in our district. We have also been able to partner with various departments around the district. We've participated in new teacher orientation, the staff equity training at the beginning of the school year. Last year, we participated in the March PD Day. We offered a couple of different sessions at both elementary and secondary. We will participate in that as well this year. And we also are partnering with the Care Solace program and the staff peer support program. So we've been meeting with Currents and Alyssa to talk about how we can partner to further support our educators of color. In the future, we would love to be able to expand to include our classified staff. We've had a number of classified staff ask, can I be a part of this? How can I get involved? So we would really love to be able to do that at some point. We'd like to also be able to share our work with other districts around the state. So I would like to thank the board, Kelly, Jeff, and others in the district who have just been very supportive and encouraging of the work that we're doing. So we really appreciate the opportunity. And I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Freedom. And the final piece, this is one of many parts of our strategies related to attraction and retention of employees. But just as Dr. Aramaki shared on Monday, due to kind of our current circumstances and our anticipated future, it's more important now than ever to really invest in retention of staff. So we'll continue to do our recruitment activities as we need to continue to hire the best that we can in Bellevue. But it's more important to really spend that energy on the retention, creating a stronger sense of community and belonging for our educators. And at that point, that concludes our report.
So, board directors, we have 10 minutes left of our meeting, and what we can do, because I see a question potentially or comment related to the report, I'm going to suggest, and I will take a look to see if you guys are in agreement, that maybe we borrow 5 minutes from director discussion and use it for any thoughts or comments regarding the report, and then we can use the balance for director discussion. Do I have a sense from, are we in agreement there? Okay, so with that, we will just revise. We'll take, I'll say maximum 5 minutes, 1 minute for each board director if needed. We'll start with Director Aris.
Thank you for the report. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the hard work that everyone's putting in to make sure that we create a sense of belonging for our staff of color, and that we're working on retaining. That with that in mind, I want to restate what my ask, which I asked on Monday, which is to look at, I know that I think Jeff, you stated that we have the highest number in certified BIPOC staff members, but I would like to see in the next report the ratio in comparison to all the other districts around us, because it's not about the number, but in comparison, are we really being the best? The other part is, I was thinking as you were reporting, I would love to tap into our staff of color to see what would help recruit in the future. When we have staff of, or people who are being interviewed, and often it is done by a team of people in the interview process, at least that's my understanding, that have we thought about tapping into our staff of color to be part of that, to help them make sure that we're not making sure that we are creating the most favorable environment for possible recruit, as well as I love this effort that we're putting in for our staff of are certified. I wonder whether we should think about doing something similar to for our non-certified staff members as well, to make sure that they are being supported in the same manner.
I'm going to interrupt very quickly. I apologize. I set a 5-minute timer instead of a 1
Yeah,
minute.
you meant it for all five of it.
Yes, so I just wanted to say we are at 3 right now.
Okay, so I think we're going to, do you want to finish the last words and then we move to Vice President Shuey?
Yeah, no, I'll just stop there and let other people go. Thank you.
Vice President Shuey?
Sure, we'll echo the huge appreciation for this really important work. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you, Jeff. I wanted to say from my professional experience, having led HR and operations groups, that retention is one of the items that is, I believe, sorely under staffed and under thought about at a lot of organizations, and in particular for historically marginalized groups. So for us as a district to be focusing on retention is really vital and really highly appreciated by me, and I know a lot of people in the community. I'd also like to say that from a personal perspective, looking around and seeing people who I can go to has been really important, and so don't ever in the community underestimate the value of what you're all doing. Thank you.
Thank you. We go to Director Watson and we'll just restart the time. Okay.
I was just wondering if maybe not now, but later, if I could be reminded of where we are with exit interviews. Just thinking, are we, when we do, since we're thinking about retention, when we do lose people on the way out, can we point to why? I mean, if they're moving to a different state, it's different. But if there's something that we could do or change, or do we capture that data?
I think I'm getting the sense, Assistant Superintendent Thomas, you're hearing and may not be responding right now. Am I correct or?
Correct. I'm taking some notes so we can do follow-up on making.
Okay.
Because some of these.
Got it. And I think Dr. Armaki might wrap up too. I don't have anything on my side. I heard the other comments from our 3 board directors. I would just say, I repeat the thank you to Dr. Thomas, to Ms. Johnson. Appreciated it. And I think that's the chime for Director Watson, but it's okay. I'll take it for me too. I appreciate it. And I agree with what we talked about on Monday, as well as what was said tonight, that I think understanding is so important. Understanding why people leave, as well as what keeps them, what attracts them, what retains them, and then when they leave, why. But I think our final comment I'll give to Dr. Aramaki, and then we will take what we can for final minutes of director discussion.
Yeah, thanks. Just closing thoughts. I'm thankful for Jeff and for Freedom and for the team who's there for all their hard work on this. I mean, it's an incredible lift on top of all the other work that they're doing, but it's so central to the core of the work that we're doing. So I just want to express gratitude. For the next presentation that we do on this, we will add some additional information based on the comments tonight and then on Monday, including around like rates in comparison to other kind of comparable districts. We are looking at doing some expansion to classified because many of our staff of color are classified staff, and so they've also been asking for support and belonging and community. And I agree with Vice President Shui that retention right now is the key. And I think something Freedom taught me was like, it's great to recruit and things like that, but it's really important that we retain people. And once people are here, that we create an environment where they want to stay. And so one of the things that she talked to me about is, we can do exit interviews. It takes a lot of time to do that, but maybe even more importantly right now is to do staying interviews where we interview the people who are here and say, like, how is it going and what would it take for you to stay? Because we want to keep the incredible staff of color that we have right now and make it a place that naturally draws people. So anyways, those are my final comments, but thank you to the team for putting this report together.
Okay, thank you. And I think we all appreciate it. I'm going to go to our director discussion. I think we have about a minute each. I'll start the other direction. I'll start with Director Watson. And then if we run out of time, I will pass, but let's go this way. Go ahead.
I thought I'd have more time, but I wanted to say that I wanted to raise the topic. We were talking about retention of staff and I like that idea, what makes people stay. And I was thinking about the same thing in this big discussion we're having about middle school consolidation. I would kind of like to know some of those same things from our families. What makes them stay, but why are they leaving and going particularly to private school? What does private school offer that we can't offer? And what does private school offer that we actually could offer or can offer or do offer? Maybe people just don't know. So I wanted to delve into that topic a bit, but there's not really time.
Well, there's 11 seconds left, but I hear you. Okay, I think it's good. I think we will go ahead and just put it on our radar. So I'm motivated to make sure that Dr. Armaki doesn't regret joining because he has a hard stop, and so I want to be mindful of that. So let's go to Vice President Shui.
Yeah, I wanted to thank all of the public commenters. There was a lot of great information and perspectives shared, and so I know that all of us will be thinking carefully about the information and perspectives that were shared. 2 comments. I wanted to caution us only whether it's stay or retention to not too easily, because I know that people of color, women, people who have been historically marginalized will say, well, the reason is because I'm moving out of state, or the reason is something else. And so we need to be not too swift at taking things at the surface level that people tend to give because it's the politically correct answer. And I'll say as a woman of color that is something that is a real phenomenon. The second real quick thing is I wanted to thank all the folks who I noticed, I don't know if you can tell, Dr. Aramaki, when people who are providing public comment are looking at you, but a lot of the public commenters did continue across to make eye contact with all of us as well as with you. So thank you to all the public commenters and others who make it a point to include everybody online as well as in person.
Thank you. We go to Director Aris.
Okay, I have three things I want to tap into. First is regarding the consolidation. I think one of the things that's been brought to my attention by our community members is the way we message, and to really kind of focus on the positives. I think some of the angst that people are feeling is because they're getting the negative of versus what are all the good possibilities. And I wonder if there's a way we could start really focusing on our messaging as not a loss, but a gain. So I just kind of want to put that in our minds. And the other is, as I think our last board meeting, or that I said I'd write a letter for the city council, but I'm holding that off because as I was talking to a board member from Lake Washington School District, it occurred to me that other school districts are already having a relationship with cities across, and they have regular meetings. I think Lake Washington meets with every city. They're part of Redmond, Kirkland, and so on, with their city council and so on. I think we need to think about doing that as a regular routine. There's a lot of benefit of that. And then the third is, I just wanted to see if it would be okay with the rest of the board if I sign up for the national advocacy meeting, given that whoever is, it happens in January. And so.
Okay, I'm going to make a suggestion on that last one. If you don't mind, just put it in email and then we'll make sure it gets to the right person. So I'm not making a decision I shouldn't, but also not getting in the way of anything. So I will just say in 20 seconds for the end, for my director discussion comment, that I think we mentioned this on Monday in our pre-board planning session, and I think we all see it. We've seen it for a long time. There are so many misunderstandings about funding. We can never do justice to it in a 1-minute thing. So I think we will have to think intentionally of how do we elevate the knowledge in our district around this, and hopefully we can all bring some ideas, maybe on our Monday discussion. What can we do? So I don't think we can get to tonight, but maybe we can bring that when we talk on Monday, which we have 2 meetings very close in time. Perhaps that's a topic. So with that, we've gone through our agenda. We are a minute over, Dr. Aramaki, but we're pretty close to our 6 p.m. over, and our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.